everyone, or good morning, depends on where you are right now. So welcome to today's webinar with James on his 250K lesson. Just a couple of words about James. James is a serial entrepreneur and the CEO, and he's built very successful businesses and scaled them over the years. And he's also a husband, he's a dad, he's an Ironman finisher, a musician at heart, and also a writer. And he's a mentor at the EEO, at the Entrepreneurs Organization. And in this webinar, James is going to share basically one of his biggest lessons in business and life that prevented him from closing down his business in 2009. But we're going to go a bit more into that in today's webinar. So James, first of all, thank you for being here. Thank you for making the time and being with us. I know you're very busy, so I very much value your time.
Oh, my pleasure, Daniel.
So, just to start right away with your story, you shared a couple of bits and pieces already before with us. Could you tell us a little bit more about where you're coming from in terms of the entrepreneurial experience? Like, tell us about the export business that you started. You told me a bit about it before.
Yeah, not a problem, not a problem. At the time, I was living in Los Angeles, and this was probably the early 2000s. And I was just left Austin, Texas. I've been a musician in Texas for quite a while, and I was looking for some new things to do. I'd run this course to a degree, and I just wanted to find something I could sink my teeth into. So I was exploring all my options. I was working in the music industry a bit, and I took on some various jobs. And one day I was having a party at my house and ran into this guy who was making this documentary about great white sharks off the coast of South Africa, and asked me if I was interested in doing the music for the documentary. And I said, not really. I'm not really a documentary music guy. I'd probably do it, but tell me more about this export company that you're thinking about starting. And so he told me about his prior work experience, and there seemed to be a tremendous opportunity to get this idea off the ground. And so we formed our company and took off from there. We were selling heavy equipment and telecom gear to Central America and Africa, and it was a real blast, kind of working out of our home. I guess I call it home office. It was really more like a futon. With a little table and a computer on it, and we got the business going. And after a couple of years of doing that, we relocated the company to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, in order to chase the Caribbean construction market. We saw a lot of opportunity there to supply that market with materials for building products. So everything was going absolutely fantastic. We went from a complete startup to about 11 employees. Mid seven-figure revenues, and sky was the limit. Fortunately, one of my best accidental moves was having lunch with a friend of mine who I was telling about I guess I was having issues with just employees and how to grow this business, and I was feeling a bit stagnant. So he educated me on Entrepreneurs Organization and felt like it would be a really good fit for me. I could, I could attend learning events, I could build a better network, and just basically find some assistance I was looking for. So I joined Entrepreneurs Organization and surrounded myself with not only, at the time I think it was 75 other entrepreneurs in South Florida, but every month I would meet with my forum, which is about 6 to 8 local entrepreneurs, and we could share stories about our personal lives, business lives, best practices, what works, what doesn't work. So I had this kind of mini infrastructure, and it was great. I absolutely fell in love with the process. As everyone knows, in 2009, Lehman Brothers collapses, and a significant chunk of the credit extended to the builders in the Caribbean was just sucked out of the system. So we had customers literally close their doors overnight, couldn't pick up the phone, absolutely terrifying. And over the course of the next 12 to 18 months, we lost 80% of our business base. So Wow. It was a real eye-opener. And the support system that I had by joining this group of entrepreneurs in Entrepreneurs Organization was absolutely incredible. If I needed some legal advice, I could reach out to guys in my group who had some great contacts. If I was feeling down and depressed about myself because of this failure I was feeling, it was just a really, really good support system for me, and it really opened up my eyes to the value of having people around you who care about you, who support you, who can kind of see you from the outside in. You know, there's a great saying, it's sometimes hard to read the label when you're sitting in the jar, you know? So when you're sitting there in your own issues, sometimes you can't see the way out. So you have, you know, people who really care about you, who are able to kind of lend you a hand and pull you up. So for me, you know, my big 250 lesson right out of the gate, going through such a traumatic time, was you got to surround yourself with the right people. And it's not just within your own organization; it's out there in the community. So that was my first foray into groups.
So can you tell us a little bit more about, you know, you mentioned the challenges, and obviously that was huge, you know, having to reduce the business by 80% essentially. So
Yeah.
what were some of the very specific challenges that you were faced with, you know, with the employees and the overall business?
Right. Well, I mean, it was anything from with that kind of revenue collapse, you have to look at your costs first and foremost, and you have to start trimming the fat as quickly as you can. When it's happening to you in such a quick, decisive way that happened for us, you know, it really took me about 3 or 4 months to get my bearings straight and to actually start looking at the numbers properly and saying, listen, with our run rate right now, we're not going to be able to keep the doors open, so we got to let people go. So having a group who was able to then sit with me and look at my numbers, because a completely open book, saying this is my situation, help me figure this out, was just super critical, right? The next way was when you're building something from scratch and you don't necessarily have a lot of money to give salaries, you really surround yourself with people who are there to grow with you, employees who are really excited about the adventure, the roller coaster that you're going to be on together as an operator of a small business. So it felt like family. I didn't know how to fire people. How do I do this properly? I don't understand severance packages. I don't know how to have the hard conversation. I don't know whether it's something or even how to tell them. Do I just tell them, blurt it out, or I take them to dinner? I mean, I just had no idea. So that was very, very, very instrumental for me. And then obviously, hey, I might need a lawyer to look over some documents because, you know, it's very litigious here in the States, and I need to have the right documents when I do terminate their position. You know, so those are some very tangible things off the top of my head that I can think how those guys really helped me out.
Okay.
What I love about what you just said right now, if I can just condense it down really quickly, is that you actually said you asked for help. And I think that is such an important point, to show vulnerability, to say, like, well, I don't know everything, right? Because what I see a lot of times with people who are starting off are very, very happy and very excited, but also very ego-based. I think, like, I can do everything and I can do it on my own. Right. And I felt that whether that is on my personal journey, whether that was on my business journey, at the beginning I always thought I can do everything on my own and I can do it the best, you know, because I know it. And I love the fact that you said you opened up to other people, that you said, okay, I don't know everything actually, and I need help from the outside, and I need to show, I have to have an open book policy with certain people I trust. So that is it's a great thing. I just wanted to mention that. Yeah.
Just going to your point, Kai, you're absolutely right. You know, it's a very humbling. If you go all in with these groups and you surround yourself by the right people, you're not going to hide anything, right? So I've got 7 other guys who have extremely varying businesses. One of the rules is that you're not matched within your group with people who are in the same industry. You don't want conflicts of interest, you know. So, we have, general contractor, we have insurance owners of all different sizes, One of our guys is something like 500 employees. It's crazy, all the way down to smaller companies. So the range of expertise is huge. And everybody knows each other, and the only way that you're going to really get to share the experiences and digest and learn is being vulnerable, is to be honest with everything. You can't nobody knows everything. And the one thing I've really learned is that businesses share the same DNA, most of their DNA at the core, right? So the issue that the guy who owns the big insurance agency is having is going to be very similar to the small business. You're going to have employee issues. You're going to have legal issues. You're going to have growth issues, cash flow issues, banking relationship that needs to get nurturing. These are all the same things. So for me, again, another really good learning experience was my eyes opening up to the fact that business across the board is very similar, and the more people you have looking on your business from the outside in, the better you're going to be.
Yes, I completely agree. I see that I do workshops all over different kind of branches of like different industries and everything, and it's always the same or very similar challenges. People always ask me like, how can you do workshops in such different environments and it still makes the impression that you actually know what you're talking about in a certain business? And I think that's very much the case, because it's always the same thing that people struggle with. And I think it's also an encouraging thing, right? It's always similar challenges that we struggle on. To just hear that, or it makes you feel more human. You're actually, okay, I'm not the only one, and it makes you feel better about yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sorry, Daniel.
No. I mean, I love your inputs. They're always more on the development side, on the personal development side. And I love that. I love that you bring that side in. So I really appreciate that input.
Well, these are important things. So Daniel, sorry to jump in, but we're human beings, not human beings.
Exactly.
So there is a sense of doing and thinking about these things, on a very human level. Because, like I just said, I mean, at the end of the day, it's just groups of people getting together and doing stuff, but also being. And so I get both ends of the spectrum are super important.
Absolutely agree. So one of the things, so you started the story with basically going into the change 2009. How were you able to get through this? You shared that you had support in the group, but I mean, obviously you made it out on the other end, which most or many didn't.
Yeah.
So how did you make it out?
Yeah, it was a very, very tough time, and we kind of kept afloat as best we could. At one point I actually did leave the company on a day-to-day business just because it just didn't make sense to have two owners there. Extremely difficult. I mean, I'll just be flat out honest with you. It was rough sailing for me, emotionally, mentally draining, the whole 9 yards. I mean, spending a lot of time where you're on a real high growth organization, thinking that you had the Midas touch, that you had it figured out, learning so much so quickly, and everything was working out, to losing so much was really, really tough on me. Spent about a year doing real soul searching. What am I going to do if this doesn't come back? And just took a lot of discussions with family, my wife, my dad, anyone who would listen. Basically, I mean, the amount of coffees that I had that year, of just seeing what else was out there, expanding my mind, reaching out to anyone who would have a coffee with me was my thing for like 6 months. Anyone who had this new idea of a business, I was all ears. And so for me, hitting that bottom, crying, just really reset my whole, what am I doing with my life? And ultimately, it just turned out to be a tremendous learning experience for me. That now I look at different business models in a different way, and ended up becoming a partner in a new business. Still have the export business. I'm super happy to say, we're restructuring it. Revenues are heading north again. Caribbean's coming back. So everything I've learned in the past 5 or 6 years, I'm now able to go back, put the right people in the right seats, motivate people, and kind of mentor some new blood in the business. It's just been super, super fun for me. I absolutely love it. So, I can't. If I was going to say what was my how did I get through it? I'm human. It was tough, man. It was just tough. I had to be honest with myself and open my eyes up to new opportunities, and they came about.
You know, when you talk about these opportunities, were they also part of the EO, the people you met there? Did that have any connection with that?
Certainly, being around people who had different business models became very, very helpful. I have a couple of guys who have recurring-based businesses, and really understanding the joys of that, of knowing where your money's coming in each month. And my export company was purely transactional. It's basically we made a sale, and where's the next one coming from? What do you need? What do you need? So opening up my mind to the next thing I want to get involved with, I would really enjoy some kind of recurring nature. And once I kind of wrapped my head around that, then the opportunity, I met my partner and we discussed it. He had experience within recurring businesses, service-based businesses. So we got together, and then it ended up finding a small mom and pop to buy. And then we've over the past 2 or 3 years, we've been building it up into what we hope is the premier security company in South Florida. So, the group has been fantastic. Just on so many levels. The more I just think about it and discuss it with you, the more things pop in my mind about specific things. It's been great.
So
Can I just jump in real quick?
Sure.
Yes,
Sure.
we're talking about, we called this webinar the 250K lesson, right? And I imagine it want to be to surround yourself with the right people. We heard that now in many ways in that organizations that you're part of. But you also mentioned now something that I'm very interested in is like choosing your business partner. Like how did you go about it, or what were the lessons? Because I can imagine that this can also be a 250K lesson, right? So
Sure.
Whether you choose the right or the wrong business partner, how did you go about that?
Yeah, so I think it's the first thing starts with self-awareness, right? You have to know what makes you tick. If you don't know what makes you tick, then you can't expect to find someone who complements you. And an ideal business partnership is someone who complements you. It's no different than a marriage, or any other relationship. You want to find someone who complements you. I'm good at fairly decent people skills. I enjoy the people side of building businesses. So I knew that the perfect fit would be someone with a very solid operational sensibility to them. So you basically have to look at yourself and then figure out not necessarily what your weaknesses are, but what do you just not like doing. Don't focus on your weaknesses so much. I mean, it's good to bolster those up with employees who can take care of certain specific actions, but on the partner side, you have to have the same vision for what you want out of life as a whole, and then you have to make sure that the things that you just don't enjoy doing, not necessarily can't do, but just don't enjoy doing, they find some passion in that, or just drive to do so. Like my partner right now in my security company is extremely knowledgeable on the financial side. I can do financial spreadsheets. Actually, I enjoy doing them, but I just don't want to do them a lot, So just becoming self-aware and then trying to fit that partner in, and then all the other basic, very important things: the trust, the vision, and make sure you guys are on the same page is crucial.
Yeah, I totally agree. I work a lot with entrepreneurs, help them, find, partners and investors, and that's kind of like that's probably a much bigger than a 250K lesson. Because at the end of the day, you mentioned marriage. Actually, when we talk about investors, the average investor relationship is longer than the average marriage now. It's crazy, but
kind of scary too. Yeah,
right?
yeah. Oh my
It's
gosh,
scary as well, yeah. So it has a huge impact. So that thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, sure. Sure.
I want to go back quickly to the peer-to-peer groups. There's so many groups out there. There's there's very loose groups like Meetup and things like that. There's free groups, and there's super high-end, incredibly expensive groups. There's basically anything you can possibly imagine. And then there's also groups with lots of different people in there. So what would you consider to be the most important factors for a very effective peer-to-peer group?
I don't have a ton of experience with meetups and things like that. I've never been a big network guy at all. For good or for bad, I have no idea. I could maybe be a completely different success story if I was better at it. What I can tell you is I hear a recurring theme is that you got to have skin in the game, right? So if you're not paying to play, it's very hard to find people who are going to be I'm not talking about like a short-term relationship. I'm talking about over the fullness of time, right? Over months and years, right? Is that you have to have everyone making an investment. So that's kind of been my filter. EO is not cheap. There's an annual due, and then there's other costs that come throughout the year. We do retreats and other events and stuff. So it really makes you pause every year when you're renewing. Is this something I want to be involved with? And it kind of motivates you to maximize your engagement with it. I'm in another mastermind, as you well know, Daniel, with JB Glossinger. He's the morningcoach.com guy, and he has this wonderful group that he's putting together called his Inner Circle, which is not cheap by any stretch of the imagination. It was certainly, when I saw the numbers, it was certainly a time for reflection about what I'm going to get out of this. But it becomes apparent that surrounding myself with these people who want the same success, they want to share, and surround themselves with the same level of thinking and ambition and openness to it, require JB to put a price tag on it. And in his experience, that he's seen it. He's been through a lot of these different masterminds and groups, and it was his one big thing was that unless you got the skin in the game, you're just not gonna. You won't be as motivated over the fullness of time. It's something that's free. I mean, how many free courses do you do? There's tons of free courses out there. You just don't do them, right? But the one that you spend $497, $997 on, you're probably going to sit down and do it because you're going to feel bad when that's just sitting in your Dropbox and you haven't done anything with it, right? So you got skin in the game. So that would be my one big kind of macro point would be find a group where there's an investment from yourself and an investment from the other people where everyone's going to show up and engage constantly. It's just the power of the group. It works that way.
Absolutely agree. I mean, I've seen that over the years. I've been part of so many mastermind groups myself, and the ones that are still part of my life are the paid ones, but not the free ones.
Sure.
Because
it's human psychology, isn't it? I mean, if it's at a price where everyone sweats a little bit to be there, everyone's just going to be really, really engaged with it and feel like they want to make the most out of their investment. So.
Exactly. So I'm just wondering, it's a lot of entrepreneurs that I talk to, startup entrepreneurs, they make, some of them are in, at the head of their business alone. Others have a co-founder, but very often they don't spend a lot of, time outside. They spend 16 hours a day in their office or running around. They don't spend a lot of time, talking to, their peers. So, I'm just curious, is that always something that you were aware of, that this is important, or was there like a point in your life where you became more aware that this is really something incredibly important?
For my businesses, for sure, we got out of the office and visited customers. So on a completely operational thing, yes, getting out and networking is absolutely crucial for your business. Is just getting out there and putting a face to a name. We're stuck in a digital world where it's so easy to send an email or even teleconference. There's just still tremendous value of getting in your car, driving down, and kind of letting these spontaneous moments happen. You discover something in casual conversation over coffee that you share in common that leads you to some new road that you never imagined. I really believe that, And then at its core, sitting in an office for 16 hours is not going to do anyone any good over the long term anyway. It's just not healthy. You know, it's something that, you know, I'm writing a book right now that I've been reflecting on quite a bit, just about the physical side of life and its correlation with success. You know, as you mentioned at the beginning, you know, I did the Ironman. I was 40 pounds heavier, you know, before I started training for this thing. I'd never run anything in my life. Couldn't even run down my street without huffing and puffing and, you know, just completely dying. So it's just been a tremendous experience for me to kind of get off the couch and cross that finish line. And I really believe that any success, the foundation for it is just being physical, moving around. So getting out, walking, moving around, going to cafes, bumping into people, having those serendipitous moments, actually going and talking to stakeholders in your business, just the physical nature of that is just super healthy, you know? See your bankers, see your lawyers, get to know everybody, get out of the office as much as you can. You know, so I think it's so easy to sit there in your office, and I'm being super guilty of it myself, and I'm only saying this because I've done it, of sitting around and keeping yourself busy and then confusing your activity with productivity, you know? So, you know, you got to get out and you know, that's my take on it. Hope that makes sense.
Totally. Kai, you had some more questions on something you mentioned in the beginning?
Well, I have a few questions of the audience that I would actually like to prioritize.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that's going to that.
This is a webinar, and that's the main advantage of, like, people can tune in and ask questions.
Sure, that'd be great. Yeah.
There has been quite a lot of questions and quite a lot of interaction going on the right side of the screen, and I just would like to share the first question of Sebastian. Sebastian asks, how do you motivate people to go through the adventure of hard times? Shares, promotions, perspectives. There was just a few things he thought of.
The motivation piece, I think, for any employee comes from clearly understanding where the company is going, even during hard times. So the taking the time to be honest with yourself about where you are, where you're going, and kind of crystallizing that in your head, and then discussing that with your employees, being super open. You'll be amazed at what people will do when they feel like they are involved and they're part of something that is going from point A to point B, and point B looks like a whole lot more fun than point A. I mean, you'd be shocked. You know, I've seen it firsthand. The next thing, if you're talking about the actual nuts and bolts of how to incentivize someone financially, obviously the motivation part's there already, is asking yourself, what do you want to have happen, and then how can I tie that performance result to their pay? So you say, hey, Kai, we're at point A and we want to get to point B. What are your thoughts on how to get to point B? And when we get to point B, along the way, as we hit the checkpoints, we'll be able to compensate you because we'll have the revenue and we'll have the profits and we'll have things like that. Everyone's on the same page. I really just think that's the core point, is getting everyone on the same page and clearly understanding that, you know, these are hard times. They're not just hard times for you because you're not making the money you want to make. I'm having a hard time. I own the business and I've got all the you know, personal guarantees behind the business. If we fail, like I'm going to lose everything. You know, so we're all on the same page, and this is where we need to get everyone on the same page, and then while we hit those benchmarks to get to point B, you'll be taken care of as well. And I just found that to be really, really good, and you'd just be shocked. People are just like, okay, I guess I can eat a few more baked beans for dinner and scrap along because I know you'll take care of me when we get to point B, and I have this whole experience of struggle on my resume or my toolbox that I can translate for the rest of my career.
Completely agreed. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I had such a great experience last year. Daniel knows that, where I organized an event called the Lifestyle Design Convention in Zurich. It's going to be next year in January as well. And what happened there is, like, I had a team around me that was working for no money, like no money at all. It was like probably 10 people, and I've never in my life seen more motivated people they were like running around. They were tired as hell. Nothing worked according to plan, of course, because it was the first event, but they made the event absolutely amazing.
Right.
Completely amazing. Everybody came to me and said, hey, how did you get such a great team around you? And it was no money involved for them. And I was so fascinated by it. And I imagine that it was because everybody believed in this idea of bringing like-minded people together who want to grow together in an authentic way. And yeah, it's just magical what you can do with a group of people if they, as you said, if they can really see the picture that you're seeing, or if they also just like you as a person, if they feel that you want to do something great, you want to do something big, they can align with your values that you either said or just lived. And it's an amazing thing what can happen if you just start with an idea and talk about it as much as you can. Yes,
absolutely.
Absolutely. Should we continue with another question? Is that okay for you guys?
Whatever you guys want to do, yeah.
Yeah, cool. I hope I say the name correct. Divya asked, how do you figure out about how to make your current business sustainable? To not go through what you did earlier. How do you figure out about how to make your current business sustainable?
I think it really depends on the business, right? How to make it more sustainable. When I looked at just using my business as an example, it wasn't a question of making my business more sustainable. We had market, conditions that were just unprecedented. So for me, just looking back on it, there were certainly things that we could have done, but so much was out of our control. I think you just need to use that lens of just, could things happen to your business that are out of your control or in your control? If things are out of your control, you can't really control the economy. You can't control whether banks are going to lend you money in your industry, 12 months down the road. I mean, those are things just out of your control. You can have a good idea, but you just can't predict certain things. But I think the in control things just goes back to the basics. It's getting the right people around you, just the people who are going to show up, so you're not wasting time with employee turnover. Doing the little things like cultivating relationships with mentors. It's just so huge, so huge. As I mentioned before, a couple of years ago, I got involved with EO has a program called the Accelerator Program, which is for businesses anywhere from $250,000 to $1 million in revenue. So these are people with fantastic ideas, really, really smart people. Like, I feel very humbled to be sitting there, being called the mentor coach. These are people who are going to just going to blow up. They're going to be amazing. But they've been very smart because they've all gotten in a group together. Again, I keep on coming back to this group context. It's all the context of your business. You want to know about sustainability in your business? Have 6 other people do a deep dive into your business. Pop open the hood and just really root around the engine of your business. So I just think getting that objective view, see things. We all have blind spots, personally and professionally, we're not seeing. So having a board of directors that we call ourselves, is just really, really critical. Mm-hmm. That would be my 2 big points.
Great. So another question of Divya: how do you deal with not being on the same page? Oh, interesting. How do you deal with not being on the same page with a partner?
I've been very, very fortunate, but again, just my $250,000 lesson. Just within my groups, I've seen partnerships dissolve. Dealing with your partner. I mean, ideally, you have agreements in place when you start the business that deals with this kind of thing. So if it does go off the deep end of just we need to split up, at least the mechanisms for that are done. So it takes the emotion out of it, because you'd be shocked at how many people stay in businesses just because they don't know how to exit and they think they're going to lose X, when in reality it's not that complicated. So just having that whole exit plan in place before you guys get too deep into the business is always a great thing. And then on the human level, if you're not on the same page with your partner, you just have to have a meeting. Just get out of the office, go to a place that you can both just really relax in, not some rushed cafe where you don't have time to think. You really just sit down and have a heart-to-heart chat. You may find that the reason that your partner is not getting along with you is because they think that you have different plans for the business, or you're not serious about the business, and things just start going sideways. And if they're not addressed, they just start fanning out and becoming bigger issues out of nothing. So just super good, honest communication. And just remember, there's nothing wrong with both sitting down and saying, this isn't for me. You might find that the other person says, I'm so glad you said that because I was feeling the same way. But maybe what we need is bring on a third partner, someone who can handle this, and everything would be better. And it just that open communication is just super, super critical, Just to your point, Kai, just the vulnerability, the honesty, and just being human. Like you would treat any other things. If things aren't going well with your spouse, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, you just owe it to each other to sit down and really talk things through.
Cool. Thank you very much. Yeah. Daniel, you have any question to add?
Me?
You.
Yeah. I have a couple of them. So, James, if you talk to a lot of entrepreneurs in the EO, who are between 250K and $1 million.
Yeah.
Like, for them, or maybe some advice for some people who are at that stage who, want to, grow their business, obviously, but want to do it in a way that's, or organic and not completely, or more sustainable in a very sustainable way. What would be some advice that you would give people like that?
So you're talking about people who just started their business and they just
people like at the EO, people like that you mentor, who are somewhere between 250K to up to $1 million. Like, is there some, based on the things that you've gone through, based on the things that you've learned from growing?
Right. So I would say without a doubt, the biggest asset you're going to have in your business is your human capital, right? You're going to have to get the right people on board with you. There's some number out there. It's like, I don't know, you take the salary of your employee and then you multiply by 50 or something crazy, or 20, whatever it is, and you really find out the true cost of having that employee on board who is not working out. Often, and I've just gone through this myself, you have an employee who's not performing, for example, because they're not a right fit. They might be the right person, but not in the right seat. So there's a big difference there too. So you have to really keep that in mind too. But let's just say you have a non-performing employee who's not the right fit for your organization, which is very expensive. Not only not performing, so if they're a salesperson, they're not hitting their numbers and providing the profits, but they're also not engaged with the customer base. They're letting the other competitors in, so you're losing there. It's the opportunity cost of having not performing, right? So just even this last week, we were talking about the hiring process, and we were going around the room. And listen, I'll throw my hands up in the air. I've been absolutely guilty of this. When I said to them, I said, "So what is your interview process?" There's really no process to the interviewing and hiring system at all. I used to pride myself, and it never worked, but I used to pride myself on having that gut feeling, like, I know people really well. I just have this gut feeling. You may not have the experience, but this gut feeling is really good. Which I think a lot of people are very guilty of, right? So it's the basics. It's having a system. For anyone who is looking to hire or put a hiring system in place, this is actually part of our EO Accelerator. Every month we read a book and we discuss it at our meetings. So that goes to show you the kind of value that we kind of try and bring to the group. There's a book called Who, W-H-O, and it's written by, I think his name is Jeffrey Smart, who is the son of the guy who invented this hiring system called Top Grading. Top Grading is a book. It's like a Bible. It's about that thick, very technical, very dense, and it's really great for HR departments. But for the entrepreneur who just wants to learn the basics and put together a system, the book Who is absolutely fantastic, full of great stories. And I actually developed an interview script 2 months ago based on this book. And knock on wood, I hired a guy, and he's working out absolutely fantastic. And he has this X factor that I would not have known or been able to pull out had I not had the right script for the hiring process. I had another young lady who looked absolutely fantastic. It was interview fantastic, but through this process, she said something that made me start questioning her, and it took me down a road, and which ultimately ended up, not working out for her in this position. Had I not had that system in place before, no way. It was about 45 minutes into the interview, asking this specific question that kind of triggered that. I would never have hired the right person. I would have gone with my gut. I probably would have gone with her. Perhaps, I have no idea. The other guy was just so fantastic anyway. He got the job. But it just goes to show that he filtered herself out using a process that I was just operating. So I would say have a really good look at that. And I know that some of you guys have got these companies that are very startup. You may only have your co-founder, or maybe it's just you. But really take the time to invest the time now into understanding how best hiring practices work. Get that book, Who. Read it. Develop your scorecards. It gives you templates on how to take a position. So if you're a founder in a business and that you're looking for a co-founder because you just can't do it by yourself, what does that person look like? Say I need this person and I need these results. This is what this person looks like, and then put that aside. And then say, what is my first engineer going to look like? What is my first sales guy going to look like? Have these scorecards so you have a clear idea of what they will look like. You'll be surprised, going back to the getting out and about and having these kind of serendipitous moments with people where they'll be like, hey, I know this engineer, he's this great guy, someone's hiring. You could be like, oh, well, I'm looking for X, Y, Z. Oh, this is your guy, because you're so crystallized in your thinking of what you need. So I would say that would be the one thing that we're working on right now in our group that just has tremendous impact. It's the first out of 12 meetings that we're having, and it's so critical for the business that was the first month was with this brand new group is let's get our hiring in gear and know what we want moving forward.
I love that because it really challenges my view of I really go with what my gut feelings tells me to do. So I think it's very good if you're one of those intuitive people to have something. Either way, you have an interview partner who maybe takes that role of really being process oriented, or you put yourself a process in place. So I love that input. I will have a look at that book because that's something that I found is a very much higher or bring people on board very much based on my gut feeling, and it worked out so far quite well. And at the same time, I found myself in traps and in challenges later on because I didn't ask certain questions because I was just all excited about that new person. So I love that. Thank you. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, just one thing I want to add there. I think both parts are very important. Like the way I always do certain things. I love systems. Having systems in place are brilliant. I love that. But at the same time, I also love listening to my gut feeling. And I always think, or the way I look at it is listening to your gut feeling is great, but then it's also good to have a system or process in place to verify the gut feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's interesting. As I'm getting older, I'm becoming more self-aware of how I tick and things. I'm a really touchy-feely guy at its core, I mean, I have to have both in place. Because at the end of the day, you go through the system, you're going to have a couple of people there, but you have to then listen to your gut. You have to be in tune. Mm-hmm. Something the way, like in this last case with this guy, just the passion he had for wanting the job, the X factor. I can put my finger on it, just the energy, just at the end of the day, once I stripped all the results from the systems, it was just a gut call that this was my guy, and it's just turning out great. So the two are you can't have robots hiring people. at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
You can't have computers, like some algorithm hiring people. It's not going to work.
Absolutely. No. So you would say they're both intertwined?
Completely.
All right, cool. So I would say Dr. Sanjay had a question, and he asked, or she asked, what according to you is the key to employee, I think that goes very much into what we discussed, the key to employee retention?
It does. It's a great question. It's almost like scripted because it's just a blend of everything we've just talked about, right? The employee retention, what does that mean at its core? It means people are excited to be at your business. You spend more time, well, most people spend more time at work than they do at home, right? They do. They're at home, they're sleeping for the most part, you know. They're a couple of hours in the morning, maybe they get up early, maybe a couple of hours in the evening, then they're asleep. And then they wake up and they go to this room in another building away from their family, right? So the key is to make sure that everyone understands where the company's going. They understand that if they understand, they know their scorecard. So we talked about this scorecard when you're hiring, that they clearly know what the rules of engagement are in order to maintain their job. You know, there's no surprises. You know, they get rewarded when things work out well. They get rewarded when they come up with great ideas. They clearly understand the vision and they can contribute to the success of the company. No one just wants to be told what to do every day. They want to feel like they're adding value, you know? So you engage with them. It's just, at the end of the day, you just want to go home, you know, see your partner sitting there and just say, I'm just super excited where this company's going. And I feel really good about myself because I'm in this position to do really well with its company. You know, I mean, so reverse engineer that. How can you make everyone super excited about working there? You know, and it just comes back just to being open, honest, sharing visions, and then having the structures in place to know that they're going to get compensated and get promoted and all those good things that any human being with any sense of ambition would want.
Yeah, I totally agree on that. And I have a follow-up question to that. You talked a lot about systems and processes. We just talked about hiring mostly right now in terms of processes and systems. What are some other, you know, parts in your business where you have, you know, systems in place that you feel are super important for you?
I think it's really, so if I just kind of off the top of my head, so monthly reviews, obviously very important. Looking at your P&L and your balance sheet and really understanding those and how those two work together. You know, I've done everything from having Salesforce, you know, for pipeline sales stuff, and it comes back it always seems to revert, no matter how involved I want to get it, all reverts back to like Excel spreadsheets for me for some reason, because at its core it's the simplest thing, right? And it's all just reverse engineering everything. So I'm just going to use my export company as an example. For me right now, I really want to, like every other business, increase our gross profit per transaction, but I also want to grow the customer base. It's great that my guys are just, you know, plugging away with existing business, cultivating these relationships, but I've learned through my disaster of 2009 that things can happen. In construction, you can have a huge customer who's providing you tons of revenue, and then they go away the next day, or they haven't sold enough units and they've got to postpone more building for 6 months. So for me, it's very important that we get new business. Now, instead of me sitting there and saying, you know, I want X dollar per thing and, you know, all this, I just make it super simple. I say, I want you guys to go get 2 new customers a month, you know? And so we set up a spreadsheet, and every day they report the revenue and the numbers for the day, but also they have to sit there and put 0, 1, or 0 or 1, or maybe hopefully 2. Maybe one day they get 2 customers, but it has to be, it's a very binary thing. Did I get a new customer? No. Every day they're sitting there and they have to fill in that blank. Did I get a new customer? No. It's another 0, another 0, another 0, right? So it kind of keeps them engaged. Like every day, it's almost like me saying, I need you to get another customer every day, you know? So I spend a lot of time just thinking about these systems, but I think the big takeaway is just don't get bombarded and overwhelmed with all the technology there. You know, get a whiteboard and put it in your office and just say on it, hey, let's go get 5 new customers today, and just check off every time a new customer, and then build a reward system. You know, $100 a new customer, $100 gift card, whatever. You know, so keeping it super simple, everyone understands, and then again, it just ties back into the vision from management saying, you know, we want to have X new customers by the end of the year. Divide that by 12, 2 customers a month, 3, 5, whatever your business is. It might be hundreds a month, whatever it is, and working back and engaging the employee on a daily basis without you having to constantly nag at them. I mean, no one wants to be nagged. They just want to know what they need to do every day.
Yeah,
I love what you said about like not putting systems in place who are not too complicated. Because that's what I see. Like I work in like big and medium-sized companies. A lot of times as a consultant, and I just see like how people get caught up in systems instead of actually creating value.
Oh my gosh. You know, it's just amazing, you know, all these modules and stuff. And no, you know, all props to Salesforce. You know, there's definitely a time and a place, and I've heard they're just incredible. You know, it's nothing against that, but I think they can almost divert your attention from what's really important, which is just performing. You know, like you know, I've had employees at my business come in, and I can teach my systems in like a day. You know, and they're like, oh my gosh. I've never worked for anyone who has like less reporting to do than you. And I'm like, doesn't it feel good? And they're like, yes, it feels amazing. You know, because one, I feel trusted, and 2, I'm not just sitting there dreading at the end of the day I got to fill in all this paperwork about what I did and get micromanaged. You know, I'm like, no, just hit X new customers, X revenue, and do this, do that. It takes you 5 minutes a day, and you can, you know, just do it as you go along, and it works because I get to sit, you know, at the end of the day from my home office, or if I'm in the office, log in to the systems, look at everything. I use a company called Zoho for my sales team, and it's basically like Salesforce Lite, and then I'm probably using 5% of its capabilities, because all I want to know at the end is that I want to get a pipeline report, and it was the easiest, quickest way. It was easier than Excel. So I said, okay, I'll spend some money on it a month, and I used like one thing on it, but it just worked out really, really well for us, you know. So I don't get tied up with all the modules and syncing with, you know, my software and all this stuff. Just keep it super, super simple.
Great. Should I add another question from the one guy? His name is, again, I think. Wait, let me see. Sanjay. Yes. How do you transit from working on the business? How do you distinguish from working on the business instead of working in the business, right? That's something, a phrase that you hear a lot lately. It's like, don't get caught up in your own business. What are your thoughts on that point?
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. It's turning into one of those business maxims, right? Which is, you know, hey, always keep your eye on focusing on the business, not in the business. It's a very general topic, and it's not meant to make you feel bad if you're working in your business. There is a time that you need to work in your business. My big takeaway from that is that just have your eye on the prize, which is ultimately what do you want, which is again asking yourself the question, what do I want to do with this business? If you love being a sales guy in your own business, then you want to be in your business. But a lot of people want to get out of the weeds, so they need to develop a layer of management, employees, whatever, so they can get out of working in the weeds and then focus on the more strategic, the higher level thinking, and having the lunches with the bankers and investors, and do more at scale, right? So the biggest thing, I mean, it just comes back to the fundamentals, and it's a great question, because it just ties in everything with finding the people. That's what I keep on coming back to that, because it's just literally the base for everything. You have to find people that are good at what they do. Not only good people, but they're good at the role that you give them. You know, so constantly monitoring that. You might have a great person who's not the right fit, but it's not they're not the right fit because they're not good at what they do. They're just in the wrong seat. So you have to adjust them as you go along. But without a doubt, just finding the right people, keeping yourself open to the human element of business, which at the end of the day is just is getting people engaged who are smart, ambitious, and want to be along with you for the ride. You know.
Love that, and I think that's a very good. If you don't have something very urgent, Daniel, I think that's a very good closing statement. I think I just want to, I just want to like again, since topic was like the 250K lessons, I just want to get out like a few key takeaways that I got. Is like, first thing is like choose your partner wisely. Like have like trust your gut feeling, and also go have a beer with your friend and really or with your business partner, really realize, is that the right person for me? Also have the right mastermind groups or groups around you. Just have support systems where you can be very open, very vulnerable, where you get the support, be open books about it, and really try to find out. Also get, as you said, like you cannot read your own label as a I don't remember exactly what you said.
Sometimes
like,
it's hard to read the label when you're in the jar. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, exactly. So have that outside perspective as well. Also getting the right people in the right roles. We just talked about this several times actually. Connected to that, what I found very interesting is you saying to also have a process, so not just only trusting on your gut feeling, but also have a process. And one very important part that you mentioned about the whole thing is you simplified it beautifully. You said is actually get people on board who are excited about your business, and I think that's a really important 250K question. If you have people who are not excited about the business, who are not in tune with your vision, with your values about where you're going, you will lose or potentially not make much more than 250K.
Yeah, and can I add one more thing, Kai?
Please do so.
We talked about this in the beginning, so I'd be remiss if I did mention it.
Yeah.
Is the philosophy of sharing your experiences. As I've gotten older, this has just become like a huge light bulb moment for me. Was that I just, it's so hard to sit there and in your own mind, you know, even with people around you, and really truly digest and understand what you know and put it all together in order to achieve success and the life that you want, is if you're not teaching it to other people, sharing it. Is what that forces you to do is to take all this knowledge and experience that you have and then package it into something in a very crystal way that you can then share. And just by sharing, you just be amazed at what doors open up for you. Without a doubt, taking on this coaching role in this mentorship thing, I started, you know, over a year ago, and I was very unsure of what I knew about doing business. I knew how to do business, but I just didn't know that I had so much to share. And it wasn't until I actually had to sit down and come up with an agenda for topics and breaking out the human, you know, the HR part of business, the operational part, the finance, legal, breaking it down and writing out agendas that I could then share in a way that people can easily digest and in turn improve their situation. It's just been absolutely wonderful. The doors have opened up so much for me in the past year. It's gotten me to where I am right now, where I'm writing a book. You know, I do my blog at jamesashcroft.com. For any of you guys who would like to read some more of my stuff. It's just been a wonderful process, and I only see it getting better and better as my network is building, and I'm investing so much in other people's success that it's just amazing to me now that I have a question, or hey, I need someone to help me out with something, that I just put something out there and I just get flooded back with people saying, can I help? Let me know how I can help. And it's just been a really, really wonderful thing. So don't underestimate how much that you know, because there's always someone there right below you, meaning experience-wise, who can learn from you, you know? So it took me a long time to understand that. So I just want everyone to be very, very well aware of that.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, James.
No
if
problem.
People want to get in touch with you, what will be the best channel to do so?
JamesAshcroft.com, ASHCROFT. .com. That's where I do my writing. I'm actually in the middle of writing a book this week. Taking a week off of everything. I disconnected everything. You guys are the only thing on my calendar the whole week. It's unbelievable.
Happy to hear so.
No, so I wanted to be a part of this because I think it's really part of what I'm trying to do, which is sharing, getting my thoughts out there, and to help out anyone that I can. So yeah, just go to my website. I have I have the contact information there. Shoot me an email. Let's chat. Anywhere I can help. Happy to do that. And obviously, if you sign up on the website there, you get a copy of my book when it comes out in October, and then you get the automated updates on my blog and whatnot.
Perfect. If people want to get in touch with Daniel and his work, you just go to jordico.com, which is JORDICO.com. I hope I got that right with my glass of wine. Perfect. And if you want to get in touch with what I do, just go to the lifestyledesignconvention.com. That's lifestyledesignconvention.com. There will be another event. I described it briefly. Yeah, I'm so excited to have you all out there with us. It was amazing. There was so many great inputs on the right side. I was really trying to be as active and as interactive as possible with you because there was so many cool things, so many cool questions coming. We couldn't answer all of them, but I hope most of them. If you guys want to see the replay of this webinar, I just added the link of the replay, and I think somebody already did actually. I'm just going to do that again here in the chat. I hope you guys can see it somewhere, and you can watch it, tune in at any time. We actually have a Facebook group that I again don't remember the name because we made it so complicated. I think it's Change Makers and Lifestyle Designers. You can find that on Facebook, and you will just get updates. Basically, you get updates anyways because you signed up for the newsletter. Yeah, guys, it was an absolute pleasure to spend this hour with both of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kai. Appreciate it. My pleasure.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I think we're going to stop the broadcast here. We're going to have, of course, bi-weekly webinars with, I wouldn't say similarly, but yeah, I would say similarly fascinating guys like James who will share their stories, their key insights about their 250K lessons. We made this on purpose a specific number to really identify what are the key takeaways of people and to not have it a broad discussions, but to really get down to the nitty-gritty details of what were the key takeaways of successful people. So stay tuned. We will have that all on our YouTube channel that we just created. So thank you very much. Have a great evening, everybody, and hope to see you at our next webinar. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, guys.